Hey everybody, my name is Rob, this is Todd, and we are the hosts of Horology, and you're watching the Watch Ho Show. Today we're going to talk about automatic watch movements and our favorite automatics that we have in our collection. And Todd's going to share some of the details of the automatic and kind of the pros and cons and things like that. But before we get started, let's do our watch check. If that's okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
And Todd, what are you wearing today?
Well, today I am wearing a Seiko automatic. This, I believe, is a Miyota movement, but I'm not sure on that. But the Seiko watch is a well-known brand. I'm sure that you viewers have heard of that, obviously. This particular watch retails for, I want to say close to $300, but I think I picked this up for about $80, $85.
Wow. That's a great value for that one.
Yeah, it's on a nice leather strap. I'm kind of a bigger guy, so the strap is ample size. It fits on my wrist comfortably. A couple of things about this watch. The buckle is not that great. I'm not that impressed with the buckle. Seiko's never really done that great of a job on most of their watches in that regard. But I love the black plain face with the white hour numbers. So this does have a day and date. Let me use a pointer here. We have a day and a date, and then with white hands with a white second hand. Just a great little watch for everyday wear, and pretty plain, but I kind of like the plain look and kind of a classical look.
Yeah, for that price, for an automatic, I mean, a lot of automatics aren't that cheap, and for Seiko, I can see why they backed off on the classical a little bit and put the money in the movement and stuff. So great value. Today I'm wearing. I want to say one of my favorite watches, but I've got a lot of favorite watches. But I'm wearing my Citizen. It's called the Citizen Nighthawk. I really like this watch. I saw it online, and then I was on vacation with my wife, and I wanted to remember the trip, and so I bought this watch on the trip. Paid a little bit more money for it at a retail store than I would have at my favorite online shop, but just fell in love with it. The uniqueness about this watch, I think they would call this a pilot watch. Because
definitely
of the
aviation,
right? Aviation,
inspired.
yeah, exactly, which I love. And one of the unique things that the hands are a little thicker. They're luminous. This is an Eco Drive as well, so no battery. And this particular one, I haven't completely figured it out yet. But the cool thing about this Nighthawk is as the second hand goes around, and you'll see a closer picture of it, there's different countries that it can stop on. And if I stop that second hand on that particular country, then the time automatically moves to that country time, which is kind of cool. And then you just pop the crown back in, and now you're in London time. So I thought that was kind of interesting. I didn't know that when I bought it. It was after I bought it, I'm like, hey, what's this doing, you know? But a way cool watch. The leather band is could be a little looser, but it's a nice leather. I like the studs on here. The watch has a little bit of heft to it for a Citizen, and they did a good job on the buckle. Thank you. On the buckle.
On the buckle.
The buckle's a little big for my taste, but nice looking. But feel that. That's not a. I mean, it's not.
No, and this is an Eco Drive, and it is 200 meters water resistant.
Oh, wow.
I noticed that, and I have a couple of watches from Citizen that have this movement in it, and if I remember right, you just pull the crown one, and when you do that, then the second hand goes and points to the time zone that you're in. That correlates with the closest city. Closest largest city, and if you want to change that, you just rotate the crown and point to the next city that you want to adjust the time to, and then like Rob said, when you push that in, then the time adjusts to that.
Cool feature. I don't travel much, so I don't need it, but just love the look of the watch. This particular watch retails for about $395. I talked the guy down to $240 or something like that when I bought it. You can get these online if you look hard enough, less than $200. It comes in a black dial as well, maybe a couple other colors, but the blue and the black dial I've seen. Love the watch, great watch.
Yeah.
One of my favorites. So, Todd, tell us a little bit about automatics and why people like automatics and the kind of the pros and cons.
Yeah, absolutely. So, if you're a watch person, I know for me, part of the intrigue is just the mechanics of an automatic movement. Typically, people that maybe are inclined to like those type of watches, they're probably also, I know like you, Rob, you like vehicles, you like sports cars.
I really like sports cars.
And it's kind of the same concept. There's a certain fascination with the detail that goes into the automatic movements in general, and how that all works. Many of you, as you know, have seen the back on open cases like this Seiko that I'm wearing today. They have a rotor. The rotor, the basic concept of how these work, without getting into too much detail, is as you move your arm or your wrist in just your daily activities, it will move a rotor that's in the watch movement. And that rotor, in turn, winds an internal spring. And then that spring is what harnesses the energy, and it's released on a controlled release in the watch, and you can adjust the control of that, and that's what adjusts the timekeeping of the watch. There's gears, there's springs, there's a lot of things going on in here. They're typically very reliable, depending on the movement and who's made it. Some are a little bit more, but we're talking, very minute differences in timekeeping for the most part.
Right.
The downside possibly is that because there are so many moving parts and they are mechanical, they do require some maintenance. That's where the quartz movement, when it made its debut several years ago, was so popular because it just ran on a battery and you never had to set it, adjust it, or do anything. You just set it down, pick it up. And most batteries typically will last you 3 to 5 years, depending on what it's running and powering. But if the battery dies, you just replace the battery. Other than that, they don't require much, if any, maintenance on them.
Do you have any idea, like if you were to take this automatic in, I'm not saying you would because you only spent $80 on it, but if you were to take this in and you wanted to keep it, how much would it cost to have somebody look at that knew that what they were doing to kind of do the maintenance for it?
Right.
And how often do you think you would need to do that?
Well, you're right, Rob. On a Seiko that I paid $80 for, if this thing breaks, I'm going to be real hesitant to, if I'm going to take it in. If I really like it, I might take it in just to inquire and see how much it is. If it's only going to be $40 or $50, which I doubt it, I'd probably pay it to do it if I really like the watch, but I just might go find a new watch for that price. But if you're talking about a higher end watch, maybe a Rolex, a Breitling, a Tag, a Tissot, could it be anywhere from $300 on the low end probably to maybe $1,000
Just to get it maintained.
to have the watch maintained on a regular maintenance schedule. And most are going to recommend probably around 3 years. I don't think that's necessary. I have several high-end Swiss movement watches that I have not maintained for 12 years.
And they're still working.
And they're still
as they're
working
supposed to.
and maintaining
Yeah.
time. I have noticed that the rotor does not spin as freely. There is oil that they put in these gears at certain friction points, and that oil, just like the oil in your car, has to be changed or replaced, otherwise it becomes thick and gummy, and that's what starts to...
Yeah. Sounds like you don't want to do that every 3 years unless you're just made of money and you don't care, but wait a little while before you have to do that.
Right. If you have the money and you just feel like you have to maintain your watches, then great, do it. That's your prerogative. But my viewpoint is if it stops running or starts losing time, then I'll take it in. But until then, I'm just going to keep wearing it.
So I'm going to show you some of our favorite autos that we have. That's what we're focusing on today, is automatic watches. And I'm going to start out with a very popular brand of watch that we've shown on here several times. That's the Tissot. I think this was the first automatic that I bought with Todd's suggestion. And because I liked, like Todd said, the mystique of having an automatic watch, the history of an automatic watch. This particular Tissot is called the Powermatic 80. It's a very popular movement and watch for Tissot. A lot of people have these. I just like the very clean look to it. And as you'll see on the closer pictures, it has this wonderful work here on the metal case on the side. Very plain, classy look, has the date. I need to know the date in my business, so most of my watches, if not all of them, and there's a couple that don't have the dates, but it's one thing I really need to have in my watch is the date. You push in to release the clasp, the butterfly clasp, decent made clasp. Where Tissot cut kind of corners on this one is the band. The band is really not my favorite. But for the price, they put the money in the movement, in the watch itself. This particular one is one of the more expensive watches that I have, and this one ran me about $260 and for an automatic. So that's about my high-end price point for my watches and what I collect. But nice automatic.
It is very beautiful automatic, and what the Powermatic 80 means is that it has an 80-hour power reserve on it. So if the spring is fully wound, which by the way, most automatic movements today have a, I'm searching for the word, but you can't overwind them. Previously, in years in the past, if you overwound your watch, you could break the mainspring in there, and then you'd have to have it serviced and replaced. But now they've put things in place so that you can fully wind or power your watch on the spring, and you're not going to break that. So if fully powered, this watch, if taken off your wrist without any movement, will continue to run for up to about 80 hours. So very, very nice watch, Rob. I like that one.
I want to show you one other one, and this one is at a different price point. Like on another show, I showed you what I call the LP, or the Lucien Piccard watch. This is also an automatic. Same type of butterfly clasp. The leather band here is a little nicer. I really like kind of the old-fashioned look to this. I like the fact that it had the open heart, I think they call it, where you can see the movement there. It's got a moon phase. It's got a date that's too small that I can't see because I'm old. And then, of course, the second hands. But just a really cool, classy watch for me. A little thicker than I like, but it also had this decorative case, and then the open view back where you can see the rotor move around and the movements. This is a 23 jewel movement. Not a bad Lucien Piccard watch. $168 for that, which I think is worth it. I mean, you can find some other really good brands for that price in automatic, but I thought that was a good choice for me. Just love the looks of it. So.
Yeah, absolutely. The moon phase that they've put in there adds to the look and feel of that. I like the thicker watches, so that's real attractive to me. The coin edge case that they've done there is very attractive.
Yeah, it's a nice touch.
Yeah, and this watch definitely looks more expensive than it actually is by far. To a person who knows nothing about watches really, would probably think that that's really an expensive watch.
$168. Todd, you brought your favorite automatic?
Yes, so I brought my favorite automatic. This is not my favorite watch in terms of design and look, but this is one of my favorite automatic movements, and this is a tag link. It is the caliber 36. It has a zenith movement in it, and it has the zenith caliber 36 movement. We'll show you a close-up of the back, because it is an open back so that you can see it, because this movement is really exceptionally beautiful. The way they've designed it, the way they display it, and just the look of it is just fantastic. Now this is a very accurate watch. It moves at a little bit higher speed than a typical watch, thus it's the caliber 36. Something interesting about this particular movement is most mechanical automatic movements, you unscrew the crown if it's a screw down crown. You pull it out, the first click changes the date, and then you pull it out, the second click changes the time. This is just the opposite. The first click changes the time, the second click changes the date. So, although I do like this watch a lot, it's not my favorite in construction and design, although I do like it a lot, but it is my favorite automatic movement.
Very beautiful watch.
Yeah.
Do you remember price point on that?
Yes, again, I want to say that this retails close to $7,000.
Wow.
And
I'm sure Todd did not pay anything close to that.
I did not pay anything close to that.
Pays his wife
and I
watching.
did buy it new. So
Are you, I've thought about this between shows and stuff because, we love watches, obviously, that's why we're doing this. Are you, completely forgot where I'm headed with this question.
am I completely broke?
No, because you added watches to your collection. But we'll have to edit this or something. I don't know. I have no idea what I was going to say. And it just sucks to be old. That's all I have to say.
It'll come back to me.
Oh, it will.
It'll
It'll come back to me while I'm talking about another watch, and I'm going to go, oh, wait a second. I remember what I was going to ask you, but I honestly don't remember what I was going to ask you. So that's a good segue to one of the other autos that I have in my collection that I really, really like. It's called Rain. And a lot of people aren't going to probably know what this watch is about or have ever heard about this watch. It was on one of my favorite websites where I buy my watches, and I think that's what I was going to ask you. With all the watches you buy, are you ever going to tell the viewers your favorite fishing holes for watches, where you buy them? And then you don't have to say where they are at, but is that something that you would divulge down the road? Because that's hard for me to say, hey, here's where I get all my great watches, because I don't want anybody to go buy my great watches.
Probably not at this point.
That's why we've got a problem when it comes to watches. Todd won't even tell me where he gets his watches because he thinks I'm going to go buy them before he does.
Well, depending on how many viewers we get,
Yeah.
and subscribers.
Right now there's 3, so it doesn't matter.
You're right, and we might disclose that later, but we're going to save that and see if we can get some miles out.
Because truly, if you're a really good fisherman, you don't go tell people your fishing hole, right?
Right.
You just don't do that. And
Or the bait you're using.
Or the bait you're using, or how to catch the fish. Yeah, you don't want to tell people where you're getting your watch deals. You want them to find out themselves. But I got this online, and this particular watch, loved the looks of it. It's got a lot of dimensions to the dial. The white dial again with the blue, I'm attracted to that for some reason. Again, an automatic, the nice leather strap. It's got a decent heft to it. Like I say, you're not going to find a whole lot about Rain watches, but for what I paid for this, to me, very worth the price. And I got to check my note. $166 I paid for this Rain watch. When I bought this exact same watch was on Amazon for $900, brand new. And I bought this brand new, $166, on my favorite fishing hole that I'm not going to tell you where I bought it.
Well, I love this watch. The thing that I love the most about this is the dial.
It's a cool dial.
It's a cool dial. It's got a lot of. I love the Roman numerals around there, the different subdials, the color combination, the guilloche design in the background here, just very attractive.
Now I'm going to spend 2 seconds on the last one because this watch gets a lot of FaceTime on YouTube and watch lovers. This is probably the most common, nice automatic that I have.
I have that one.
I know you do. It was funny, the day I asked Todd to find me one of these, he was wearing his. Saw this online, Seiko Presage, is that the line called?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think that's how
It's an automatic, it's got a beautiful rotor in the back, fits very well, looks very good, very simple, classic, retro watch. A lot of people talk about this on YouTube. I really enjoyed the watch. Again, retail is probably $500, somewhere right around there. Checking my notes, what I paid. I paid $248 for this online, and at one of my favorite online places, brand new. And I would highly recommend this if you want a really good, classic, well-made automatic for your collection. If you want to start, I would highly recommend this watch. And you have one of these or a couple of these?
I have just one of these that I recall. I'm thinking I might have two different face colors.
Right, exactly.
But I do have this one with the blue, kind of the sun dial or sun ray dial on there. When you move it and how the sun hits it, it's kind of got a sunburst look to it. They do a great job on the crown here. And then I really like this band.
Very comfortable band.
Very comfortable band, stainless steel, solid links. But yeah, I agree, that's a great...
The other thing, Todd taught you about how to wind it with that, it winds automatically as you move your arm, but they're also, most of these, like the old-fashioned day, you grab that crown and you can wind it and feel that wind as well, which is kind of cool too. So I didn't know that. Todd had to, I'm in the morning, I'm kind of winding my watches up because I don't know anything about watches, but you can actually turn them on the
Yeah. For our viewers, if you've had an automatic movement or before, and maybe it was a new watch to your collection, if you just put it on and tried to wind it just by natural movement, you may not have got enough power reserve. You may get 2 or 3 hours into the day and notice your watch has stopped. So it's always a good, most watches now are what they call mechanical automatics. So the difference is mechanical comes from a term of a watch that's not automatic movement, but it does require manual winding. So you're just manually winding the spring. Your movement of your wrist has nothing to do with the winding of the watch. But most automatic movements today are mechanical automatic, which means, like Rob said, you can pick it up and you probably want to give it a good 20 to 30 rotations. And then you can set the time and everything and put it on your wrist, and you won't run out of power. It'll keep going for you.
Excellent. Automatics, you know everything that you need to know. Go buy some, add them to your collection, all different price points. If you like the show, please share it with people you know that like watches as much as we do, and obviously we'll continue to show our collection and talk about watches. We appreciate you watching today, and thanks for joining us.
See you next time.